So I was listening to some podcast, which was it's not like it's an RPG and it's all like steampunk and stuff. It's
Mm.
pretty good actually. I'll link you. Anyway, they have a changeling, but it's not the way that changelings work in Dungeons and Dragons. And because I was already thinking of my character having links to religion and a couple of specific gods ish, I was going to try and work kind of a weird angle on that, where it's like born human, god magic with the weird conduits, into sort of changeling, but it's mechanically weird.
Game game mechanically weird or in universe mechanically weird.
Well, I mean, obviously the whole thing's up for veto because it depends how it's going to work in the universe. So I didn't, try and get too strict with it. But the notion was that changelings can, or have essentially been forced into. They're basically a new species, sort of created by a god of change. Interpret that as you will, and they can essentially at will change their physical appearance, but it is immensely painful to do so. Like, it's like a good 5-minute process where your bones are breaking and reforming, and it's immensely painful. And it also, the idea was that the character was a very sort of driven person, very pursuit of knowledge, very driven and motivated. But then when this happened, they kind of came into conflict with themselves.
Because
if,
it's getting too far, this is not worth it kind of deal.
Sort of, and also that becoming this changeling, in quotation marks, has taken away that singular purpose, because now you are no longer sort of one. You're kind of fractured. Like, there's different parts of you pulling in different directions, regardless of what your physical form currently is. And they become, like, lost in what they want and what they're seeking. And then they run into the patron saint of lost causes. And that is who they are currently in the employ of, loosely. In the employ of just means, sort of wandering apostle, but not an apostle. I had like 8 hours. I went a bit loopy. There's not much else to do at work, so...
Nothing to stimulate the brain.
No, literally nothing. Literally nothing. It drives me up the wall.
I mean, so I don't think it would be impossible. How you described it working, that conflicts a bit of how I imagine it. But let's work on that. So the question is, how often do you expect to change, or how often?
Very, very rarely. Because it's such a painful process, you're obviously, like, it's naturally discouraged. You don't want to do it, but you can if you have to. And, like, I imagine that, say they're in their 40s, 50s, or whatever, they've probably... It's like a once-a-decade thing. Like, they've been through 3.
Okay, in that case, maybe. I'd like to know why change at all.
Well, I imagine the initial...
The initial thing, yeah, sure, that's curiosity. But after...
I think the initial thing was forced. I think the initial thing was part of the the magic, the god
Yeah.
conduit interaction was, so it was forced and then discouraged. The other two, I'm going to have to think up the other.
May I posit?
Yeah, please do.
The God of Change is very annoyed you ran away from him. He had plans for you, and so you only change when he's on your tail.
I like it. Yeah, okay. So the first change was necessitated by the magical change itself.
Yeah,
The second
which
change
you sought because you are curious and wanting.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second change might have been sort of accidental. Like, you don't know how it works necessarily. And it was just like a curious trying to discover yourself, work out who you truly are, and in that introspection, sort of almost accidentally triggered it. And then, yeah, I think the trying to escape the God of Change is a good one.
Yeah, I think that might imply that you did a bunch of changes at the start under his direction.
Yes.
You know, like change into this person, go do that, and then you broke away.
And then I think maybe when they came into contact with the patron saint of lost causes, as I shall refer to them, there was maybe a voluntary change.
I'm just trying to figure out, not mechanically, or what ways would one have to undergo such a change using technology.
Yeah, mechanically, that's the mechanics I get caught up on.
Yeah.
But I imagine the initial change was something that was human-esque, but not. Like, because, I mean, I was just basing them off originally being a human. That's whatever, it doesn't really matter. The first change, I imagine they became something more like the changeling artwork that I've seen, where they're sort of vaguely human, but kind of unsettlingly. Like, they don't quite look right. And then the subsequent changes have made them look more human. But I guess that could be considered their true, in quotation marks, form. Maybe. I don't know.
Right. So, I've got an idea. Since all of the magic is technology based.
Yes.
Oh well, magic exists, but you can't access it unless you have the technology for it, which is that the God of Change has been experimenting with various pieces of technology, and he found one. For sake of nothing better, let's say, he found some grey goo that could change matter if controlled correctly, i.e. nanobots, whatever, not that important, and that
molecular restructuring.
Yeah, and that that you basically have this stuff flowing through you, and if you, and then the question becomes, how do you activate it?
If the right boxes are ticked, yeah.
So your blood would look very interesting.
Yes.
Sort of red, greyish.
I have this terrifying
image. Oh, that's so cool.
I have this terrifying image of him being cut and like this red greyish thing oozing out, and then all the grey just kind of sucks itself back into the body.
So it looks like...
Obviously the nanobots are kind of smart, so...
Yeah. So it looks like a gel at first, and then sort of from the sort of
the
completely mixed gel, and then
leave.
the blood and the bots separate. So you have like this, and
But the blood's reluctant to flow.
Oh, I don't like that.
Oh, that's so creepy. I love it.
Nanobots.
The other thing was, and I don't know if this would work. I can't think of a mechanical way to make it work. But my favorite thing about the changelings that I've when looking at them as a throughout various different RPGs is the like D&D unsettling visage thing, where it's just like that hint of change, like a hint of their true self kind of shines through and is immensely unsettling. So just the ability to be kind of unsettling on demand, I quite like.
Walking, talkie, uncanny valley.
I mean that. I mean, I would say that those are two different aspects that you need to have. One is the sort of changing into someone else, and I've got an idea for that. And the other is just sort of, and actually you can sort of put them into one. But if you use, okay, so the idea I have is that it's a painful experience to change. And if we've established that it's basically gray stuff in your veins, that in order to change you need to get rid of your skin. So you need to sort of tear the outer layers off in order for the bots to change the outer stuff. Some
like shedding your skin.
They're not shedding. You basically need to destroy it enough for the bots to be able to, the groove to be able to get out enough to sort of start, and then you basically reshape just using your hands. So I need to change the length of my arm, breaking it a few times, and then sort of pulling it out, pulling it so it gets a little bit longer, or breaking it and sort of cramming it together a little bit.
Simultaneously being the best and worst plastic surgeon in the entire world.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's like it's mainly handled by the grey, flowy, bloody thing, and you have to like guide it a little bit in places.
Exactly. So it's going. I mean, it's one of those. Yeah, it's really painful, but you can change how you look if you want to. Although, I don't know how that would interact with like hair and maybe it's just that. I mean, it's one of those cool concept, but then we get to stuff like changing the shape of the face. Would that mean that you have to basically break your entire face? And and stuff like hair color, eye color.
I mean, I don't know what these nanobots are capable of. Like nanobots eroding parts of your facial structure and like rebuilding them in different places.
I mean, we could say that, you need to sort of, break stuff up. I mean, and the horrifying visage of someone, tearing his own face off, basically.
The unsettling visage idea was just like not going for like some full-on transformation, but like a partial. It's either the two ways I see it is either because you're essentially like a being that isn't natural. If the way you act is perfectly human, but you act it essentially, and if you drop the act, people start to notice things that are like subtly wrong, like your limbs are kind of weirdly long in a way that doesn't seem right, and everything's just kind of a bit unsettling. Or it's like you do a very slight transformation, which again, incredibly painful, but you change your facial features tiny bit
maybe
to resemble.
I mean, we could say that you have a little bit of control over what the bots do, what the grey ooze, because your character wouldn't know what they are. That this grey ooze, you have a little bit of control, so you can control hair color a little bit, you can control eye color a little bit, and so on. And you can control if it's under your skin or if it's, suddenly pools like in outside for a few moments. And it would be unsettling to see someone suddenly develop like gray bubbles all over his face.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is, like, because you don't have perfect control over it. You can guide it into a rough suggestion of what you want, but you can't get it perfect, and that's why they kind of, you have to compensate then afterwards in the way that you present yourself to other people. So you've guided it in one way, but it's made your arms slightly too long or your legs slightly too long or something slightly too thin. So you have to change the way you walk and the way you act to compensate for that. And then as soon as you stop acting, people are like,
Yeah, I mean, at this point we're just trying to work out sort of what aspects would fit and not be, what aspects would fit to this.
Because I don't think, I'm not planning on, I'm a changeling, I'm going to change myself every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, it's more just, I quite like the concept. I quite like the concept of being kind of disguised as something else and weirdly unsettling at times.
I mean, if may I ask how extreme the transformation you imagine would be? If if it's the height is pretty much the same, and sure, you can change the length of the arms a little bit, but you can't change it too much. And it's mostly skin and muscles that you change.
I imagine it's based on pain tolerance. Like, sure, you could go the whole way and try and become something completely different. You can try and grow a foot or shrink a foot, but if you do so, it will be the most painful thing you've ever experienced in your life. Versus, you can change a little bit, and it won't be as painful because the transformation won't last as long. So the radical transformation is kept in check by pain tolerance. So you just don't do it because it could theoretically be so painful that you just die if you go too far. So, like, I imagine you could adjust the height and you could adjust the width and the skin color and stuff like that. But the further you go, the more dangerous it becomes.
Okay, I've got this. Since we're let me get your character sheet up. Fox, there it is. Yeah. So what we can say. I can't remember how the stunts are supposed to be worded. Stunts. There they are. Because I have grey ooze flowing through my veins, I get no, that doesn't fit. So yeah, it would be a aspect and not a stunt. The aspect could be something like change for pain or something like that. So something small, you can do that, and you can basically change over years if you want to, like changing the ever so slightly increasing the length of your nails, so at the same rate that your hair grows, you grow as well, slowly but surely. So that would
wake
be
up in the morning. Up, time for my 5 minutes of pain.
yeah.
Get this
Yeah.
little bit out of the way for today.
I mean, if it, if you do it, just if it's, just a little bit, it would only tickle, not tickle, prickle.
Yeah, it's like pinpricks.
Yeah, there's when after you've slept on your arm and your blood rushes back, that kind of tingling. And doing that year after year will eventually change the shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, something like that. And then obviously if you want to do a more significant change, then you have the aspect which allows you to do the change and the approach, and then you can decide how you want to approach it, and then you can do the stuff. And obviously the bigger the change, the more difficult it becomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Yay! Good job at work, me.
Okay.
And us for making it fit.
Yeah, just add the aspect. Add that as an aspect. I mean, it's obviously not a trouble. It's just a normal aspect. Yeah. Right. Okay, let's see. Right, Raffj.
Yes.
So your high concept is
It's like former sailor on a tram.
former
Dream?
privateer.
Yeah.
Would be the high concept because privateer. I need to read up on the SRE. Let's see. Aspects trouble. What kind of trouble would that be?
Did not leave with permission. You get hired on. You don't get let go until they let you go. But he didn't come back up to port after a mission. Essentially, my idea here is like there was a battle that for once did not go his ship's way, and the aftermath kind of left him realizing what he had done through his career, and he decided he wasn't okay with that anymore. Skip town at the next port.
Moral quandary.
Yeah, the problem with Fate is obviously the creation of aspects and naming them in a way that makes sense.
Aspects is.
I mean,
fun.
for now you can obviously just say left without permission or something like that.
Yeah.
Left Navy without permission. And depending on, I wanted to start in a desert setting.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no. This is well in the past. Like he's buggered off. Like sitting in the
that's
desert.
the place to run away from the Navy.
Yeah, if you don't want to be around the Navy.
Well, it depends. I mean, desert Navy.
Desert Navy. I've been saying it.
Oh my god. No.
Well, let's put it this way. I had, sort of. I was looking, sort of.
If we accidentally become desert pirates, there'll be a whole thing there.
I was looking if it would be even in the slightest bit possible without technology to make like a desert catamaran or something like that.
Where's that scene in Sahara? Have you seen Sahara?
No.
I've got to find it.
But you know, something like a catamaran just gliding across the sand. That it's a good image,
Really
but it would be like considering that you basically need to remove all of the friction. It's basically going to be a one-off thing. So, sad times.
I'll put it in the Discord. This is it's one of those really bad Matthew McConaughey films.
That was a great film. I don't know what you're on about.
I love it. I secretly love it.
Yeah, that's kind of essentially what I imagined a desert boat would be like.
Yeah, I mean that kind of thing exists. Obviously not at that scale, and not.
It's the first place my head went. That's such a dumb film.
Obviously that. I mean that kind of thing does exist. It's just not like that.
No,
And-
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Matthew McConaughey film.
But I like the concept. But
I mean, if you, all you really need is stronger winds than normal in the desert.
yeah, which extreme
Perfectly
biomes.
in keeping with the
Yeah, with how we've made the continent.
God, that would make. What's worse, being stranded in a desert or being stranded at sea? Don't go in the doldrums.
Yeah. So I was looking through different types of. I was trying to work out the climates, and I figured out that I understand understand it conceptually, but I don't know how to translate it perfectly. So so I know that the content. If you look at the background picture, the one on the left landmass there, that is pretty much the only piece of land that's large enough for desert. So you read beyond that.
Yeah, I've can't see anything.
Game just paused, maybe. Sorry.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
finding the right scene.
you should be able to see the background.
No.
No.
Right now.
Huh? That's odd. It's the activated scene. Toggle navigate.
The scenes that I'm in is just called new scene, if that helps.
I did. What?
So
Try reconnecting if you would, please.
okay. You do not own any token with vision in this scene,
Okay. No,
but
That
I now
explains
have a
it.
different sort of blackness,
yeah.
so reloading was needed.
Yeah. Let's see here. Configure scene.
I can also now see your cursors. I couldn't see that before, so
Right.
Global
I think mine just hadn't
illumination.
loaded.
Save changes.
Still, you do not own any token.
Yeah.
Which is
Does that mean you have to place the tokens on there?
I guess.
Can you see it now? Or
it's just everything's now grey, which is weirder.
okay, I need to figure that out. I'll send the image in Discord for now.
Cool.
Where did I
later,
put it? Other locations, library, assets, maps, store the lands, planet render. There you go. Landmass on the left.
Neat.
The height map is not entirely correct because it's randomly generated and just blobs.
Yeah.
But that be the landmass you'd be on.
Hell yeah.
I like it.
So yes. Where were we? Right. Don't forget to write.
Desert catamarans.
Don't forget to edit the character sheet so you writing your aspects down.
I have done so, but do
Working
I need...
on it. Oh, didn't save that.
Oh, I didn't save it. I'll do it again.
Yeah, and don't hit the big save button below because that one doesn't work.
Gotcha. I didn't see the other one, so I was like, I'm not going to press it because I know what it does. And then I didn't see the other one.
It saved my name change, but not the rest of it.
Hey. Yeah, so if you edit and save the little save button on the top right, it doesn't save?
No, this was just where I restarted. I logged out and logged back in. It saved the name change, but not my aspect changes, which is just odd.
Hang on, I'm going to close those sheets. Basically, this the system I use for this, I don't think has been updated in a long while. So it's probably a lot more buggy than any other systems.
Yeah, I've got my approaches as well. But
Yeah.
I think that's how I want them.
Yeah. Just write something in there, save it, and see if I can see it.
Yeah, mine's saved.
You've saved?
Yeah.
Yep, now I can see it.
Cool.
Any other aspects you had in mind?
I was actually having real trouble with the aspects, mostly because they're very high concept, and I'm not good at that.
Just have an 8-hour shift at work listening to weird RPGs and come up with something completely mad. Would be my recommendation.
The high aspect for you folks would not be physical change for pain. That
Okay.
would be a normal aspect.
What's my high concept?
Well, the high concept would be, something you are the curious student of whatever.
Was. But yes.
Yeah. Or the yeah. So I have a list of various aspects list. This should help you. There are lots of things there. Most are not relevant, but all of them should be able to give you
at least give ideas. Yeah, I think one I did have, which I've got written down on this note that I just found, was attempting to make amends for prior evils, sort of thing. I don't know how that works as an aspect.
Eternal Wanderer.
So make amends for that you ran away?
No, for what I did while I was a privateer. You know, the general carnage and
you want to
stuff.
make that right.
Yeah, trying to clean my soul, as it were.
Could have an aspect that goes along the lines of that you something like make no wrong. Or a wrong must be compensated with a right. Or...
Yeah, for every wrong, a right.
Yeah.
Is there a way to make things bold? Oh yeah.
Control B.
Control B does work.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's under formats and then inline. Yeah, and Fox, you need to change how the aspects are named because yeah, changeling, yeah, that works.
Neat.
And then control B because consistency.
Yeah.
All right.
Great archetype.
And technically, you can choose. Oh, right. You need to choose. Let me see. So, high concept, trouble, and then one aspect. Now choose another aspect. Think of something really important or interesting about your character, or the strongest person in the hometown. Yeah, that, and then optionally 1 or 2 additional aspects, and one of those additional aspects has to be in relation to the other characters in order to bind them together.
Yeah, which is the tricky part.
Yeah. Especially because we're missing half of the group.
Yeah. I did like the idea of what Fox said, the patron saint of lost causes. So I think
They are my higher concept. Are you my lost cause?
I feel like if there is a patron saint of lost causes,
I feel like
that would be where my character would kind of drift towards.
that's quite interesting because I think that's my sort of penance. That's the price I paid for the help of the patron saint of lost causes. Is I've been forced to become like the eternal wanderer. I am like the shepherd finding the lost causes.
I think that's how we connect, at least.
There you go.
I don't know how to write that as an aspect, though.
I mean, we can work it out once the other 2 characters have returned. Oh, yeah. Right, name and appearance. One already has a name. Fox, do you have a name in mind?
Nope. Thinking of one. I'll think about it real good. I probably had a name, or maybe I changed my name. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, by what name do you go now?
Maybe every time I change, I take a new name. Who knows?
Well,
I don't know. I'm gonna think on it.
That could also be an aspect. One body, one name.
One body, one name. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't actually wait. Need to figure out how that could come into play.
Yes.
I don't know how that would come into
It's
play.
like it's like my character. I guess it's part of my character's like eternal wanderer thing. Is that becoming a changeling? They kind of lost their sense of self, almost. So they don't truly identify with any one name anymore. They are
the wanderer.
They are they are essentially the wanderer, and everything else is just a character they're playing.
I've got a suggestion for the name.
Vaga
for vagabond.
I like it. Because it's close enough to Vandrala. Because what's that? This was initially inspired. This aspect was initially inspired by a song, as all of my characters are.
Right. Fox, do you have your approaches?
Nope. Can't confirm I do not.
How does Vaga approach a situation? And this will also tell you a little bit of how he changes, since being quick. If you have a lot of in quick, then you would try to get over the changes as quickly as possible instead of dragging it out.
True.
Right, flashy, forceful, quick. Yeah.
I don't think they're not particularly flashy and probably not very forceful. I think they tried to draw as little attention to themselves as possible. Sneaky, so maybe a bit more in the sneaky. I think fairly high on the clever, considering they were initially driven by the pursuit of knowledge.
Yeah. Raff, do you have ideas for stunts?
No, I was struggling with stunts because I tried looking up a bunch for examples, and they all seem to be way more high concept than I expected.
Hang on, let me get
I think the stunt I wanted something to do with sailing, essentially.
hang on, let me get the
Where is that
fate
link
SRD,
for
oops. Fate accelerated. And then whoops. Wrong link.
Yeah, no, there's the stunts under the fate accelerated in that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
there you have
right.
and there you basically have a
yeah.
Because I well, sailing. What would be relevant there? So as privateer and sailing, so that would be some that you're steady-footed even in unsteady terrain.
I think that would be the one I'd go for.
Or something about combat, or
I think the unsteady ground thing would probably be the one I go for, because obviously fighting on a ship is a bit interesting, especially when you just rammed it.
Yeah. So that would be because because you're steady-footed, I get a +2 when you what would that be? When I'd say quickly or carefully.
Great, too good. To be fair.
Carefully create advantage. Overcome when. Yeah, that would work. Something along those lines.
Yeah, so because I'm steady-footed. Yeah, what was it you said entirely there?
Because I'm steady-footed is a wrong word, but you get the idea. Because I'm steady. What did you say?
Yeah, I was just saying steady-footed works well enough.
Yeah. Because I'm steady-footed, I get a +2 when I carefully overcome when in uneven terrain or moving terrain. Uneven terrain. When I'm in uneven terrain. Or or attack or defend or create advantage. It depends on when you were trying to be steady-footed. If you were trying to be steady-footed in a storm, then it would be you'd use it when overcoming problems. If you were use your steady footing when sort of defending against sword blows. It would be defending. So, yeah.
I think it would be in combat probably when attacking, considering I see him mostly as a boarder on a ship as opposed to, say, a navigator or anything like that.
Yeah, that's because I'm steady footed, I get a +2 when carefully attacking. Oh, well, carefully depends on when you flashily attack or whatever you choose there. Attack when in uneven terrain.
Yeah,
Or
I
unsteady.
think I'll go. I have this inherent view of ship-to-ship combat as flashy, but I'm not sure if that's actually reality, or if I've just watched too many pirate movies. Pirates of the Caribbean, that's flashy combat, but
yeah, I mean,
don't think it's real.
I don't think it's realistic. No. I mean,
can
most
confirm.
combat. I actually don't know a lot of ship-to-ship combat during, medieval.
I'm thinking because of the lack of
since
gunpowder, it's more.
I mean, regarding piracy, a lot of it wasn't even combat. A lot of it was just intimidating.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it would be flashy because the whole point of the skull and crossbones and flying up the flag was to intimidate.
But piracy was, was much late. We don't have gunpowder.
Blackbeard
we
had
don't
8
have
pistols and put burning wicks in his head to scare people. That's flashy. I don't care what you say. It is a different era of piracy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the point still stands.
That's 18th century.
The point probably still stands. You don't want them to fight back if you can get away with it.
Ideally, yeah. Bravado does a lot of your job for you because
so
you don't want to kill everyone. You just want all their stuff.
Yeah. So as long as you're okay with describing your attacks as really flashy and while on steady ground, just dancing forward.
I think I can manage that.
That works well. Right. And Fox, do you have ideas for stunts? Or a stunt?
I'm working through the website as we speak.
Tricks, maneuvers, techniques. Yeah, for you, it's probably something related to the goo stuff, the grey goo.
Yeah. What would that be? Well, I guess would the whatever variant of unsettling visage come under stunts?
Yes.
Like unsettling presence or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I subtly changed my form to gain a whatever on.
Yeah, so that depending on how depends on how here you can basically decide how the thing works. If you want it to be, sort of constantly active kind of thing, then it would be the first one. So because I have an unsettling visage, I get a +2 when I I don't know, when I carefully try to gain and try to overcome or gain an advantage when I'm talking or when I'm trying to intimidate.
Yeah.
Or if you want it to be, sort of the faster kind of thing, then the second version would be, because I have grey goo, once per game session I can I can I can force one enemy to go last because it's scary.
How many stunts do you have? Is it just one?
Yes, to begin with, you have just one. And you have up to 5 aspects.
I was thinking
But,
another one could be, having spent so much time trying not to draw attention to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you don't have to set all of the aspects now.
Yeah.
I'm playing a Fate core game, play by post, and I've been running around thus far, and since it's play by post, it's not as accurate a measurement, but I imagine it's been like we're getting towards the end, and I still haven't decided my last aspect there. So
I'm trying to work out if I want to use the kind of unsettling visage in like a careful way, so that it's only revealing it to like one particular person. I'm carefully showing them that something is very unsettling, or if I'm trying to be clever with it instead.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can
Knowledge
see
of
how
to exploit the situation. Yeah.
You can see how that can influence.
Okay.
And then your trouble, when it comes to the aspects, remember that there should be like 5 words or so at most. So your trouble needs to be compressed into some more. But yeah.
Yeah. I'll think of a name.
Yeah. Right. I wonder if May's coming today.
She did post that she is stuck with family now.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on. Okay. Well, right. Well, we've got most stuff done. Now we just need to figure out how to work the others into it. So, yeah, it turns out today's definitely going to be a bit short.
Yeah.
But we've got some stuff worked out. That's good. Yeah. The flashes in uneven terrain. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a description for Atticus?
It's a placeholder. Something like.
Yeah, that's the part I'm trying to figure out.
What do the boy look like? Or the girl? Or the other?
It's I believe the term sailor.
Sailor, yeah.
Yeah, you have to give up your gender when you join.
Sailor's a gender neutral term.
Yeah. Why are descriptions so hard? Why can't I just write looks like a person?
Well, because
unfortunately, writing definitely a person, absolutely 100% average, has undertones to it for some reason that they're not 100% average.
I think that would be an aspect. Aspect completely average. No, physically average.
So average, people don't remember them. They're just like, oh yeah, it was very. How do we describe him?
Yeah.
He looked like a guy. He looked like a dude.
And,
He had hair.
and then in
was a
combat,
colour?
you're completely average. I mean,
Average
that
in
would
every
actually
way.
work.
Just plus twos across the board for my aspects, because complete average.
No, that would rather be +1 across the board.
But I thought +1 was mediocre. I can't remember how they name it now. Oh, no, +0 is mediocre, isn't it? Yeah, +1's across the board. I mean, interesting character to play, but I don't think I'm going to go for.
Yeah. But you still want some kind of description, so I can find like.
Yeah,
So
I'm just trying to figure out whether I'm going to go for like sort of generic person, human, or if I'm going to go, this person waxes his moustache and has a coat draped over his shoulder at all times because he used to be a pirate. I'm kind of hovering somewhere between those.
Well, you can think of it this way: if you're trying to run away, wouldn't you at least change your clothing?
A smart man might. Question is, you have to get a smart man.
I mean, it's one of those logical things. Okay, I'm trying to hide. What?
Yeah.
How can I hide? Okay, let's get rid of these clothes. I mean, you don't have to have many brain cells to come to that conclusion.
At least 3.
Yeah. So. And does Fox have a description in mind for the current current looks?
They've been in the desert a while, so I reckon fairly dark-skinned. Let's say, I imagine that obviously deserts are very sandy. I'm thinking that sort of wrapped cloth kind of look, you know? Like, what would be comfortable to wear trekking out in the desert a lot? You got like the head wrap and the...
something that lets air through.
Yeah, something
so not
that
leather.
Lets air through, but no, not leather. It's cloth. There is no leather in this one.
Like, what do you... I don't know a lot about deserts, but probably something light and like... No, is it linen?
I guess. Yeah, because you want to cover as much skin as possible, because obviously you don't want it to get toasted. But you also don't want to overheat. So some form of light.
Yeah. I mean, I will point out that we can't... I haven't decided absolutely that it's going to be the desert. It might just, be at the edge of the steppe. Or
I think regardless, my character comes from the desert.
Yeah.
If your character comes from
They're the Eternal Wanderer. They've been walking.
Yeah.
Not necessarily comes from, but...
yeah, since the desert is definitely... well, I guess...
I imagine there's trade routes and caravan routes across the desert.
Yeah, I mean, yes. The question is, are you born there or did you get there? Since the Xalnans would be probably northwards or southwards. And the desert would definitely be Veneran.
Maybe drawn there. Yeah. Drawn there by their thirst for knowledge and their pursuit of the god of change.
Obviously, the Xalnans only exists as memory at best when we start the campaign. So everyone is Veneran in a way, but it's so the thing you decide most is like the species.
Yeah.
And I need to figure out how the different sort of how evolution has changed the bodies of the Venerians and the other like splinters. Oh well, any other things to note? For now, I don't think so.
I think it's just because I do want that aspect around linking me with Fox's character with regards to the
Maybe we should do that
possible.
once we have the rest of the group, just so we have. Let's do that. Let's do that aspect with the others.
I'm gonna chuck it in there as a note for now, just so I remember next time.
Yeah. And I think I think that's it for today. I'll leave the server running today if you want to edit.
I will sort out a description of some kind and possibly find a token.
Yeah. I'm working on mine. I like the idea of loose-fitting clothing, like obscure the fact that they're kind of oddly proportioned.
Yeah.
They walk with a hunch.
Male or female, Fox?
I haven't decided yet. Point of contention.
Okay. Beard or no beard? Hair or no hair?
Definitely hair. Also, I haven't decided on facial hair because at the moment in my mind their face is covered anyway.
My character has a goatee. I've just decided it has to happen.
Oh, and also for you, male, female, just so I can find.
Male.
Okay. So goatee. So you continue on with the goat theme.
You can't escape it.
Just wait until I buy myself a goat.
Yep.
Like, it'll happen.
Or a goat-like creature.
If you insist this is a theme, I will run with it. I will happily run with it.
How have goats evolved up to this point? They get bigger?
They're now actually 20 feet tall and demon creatures.
Goats replaced camels.
Oh, God. It's just your bog standard normal camel, just like twice the size with a massive hump.
Yeah. Really good at vertical climbing. No one knows why.
Can actually stand upside down. Don't know how it happened. It's not even magical. It's just all natural.
Well, goats wouldn't really be in the desert.
Not goats as we know them.
No, but that's point. I mean, obviously everything has evolved. Yeah. I mean, what you could do is just say that camels. Since if we imagine this would be like 10,000, 100,000 years from our time, if we then what you could do is just say that desert animals haven't evolved that much, maybe a little, in order to adapt to the rising temperatures and so on.
I'm thinking that the lizards that we named came from the desert. So it's just lizards in the desert. Big ass lizards. So that is really cool, folks.
I'm thinking one on the left.
Yeah, I'm thinking one on the left.
Maybe in more deserty colours. Maybe the one on the right is how one of the gods dresses. Maybe the patron saint of lost causes or something, or the god of change. I don't know.
It does look a lot fancier.
It does look a lot. It looks a lot more religious with all the detailing.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of having some kind of like spear/walking stick.
I love those spears.
I mean, I nearly went for halberd, but I restrained myself.
I mean, well, weapons, unless it's really special and you like have an aspect for it, weapons are set dressing.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, if you don't need me anymore, I will continue on. I've got other work to do.
Okay.
But yeah.
Best of luck.
Hmm?
Best of luck.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'll leave you to it, and I'll see you next week with the others.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.